of the Storm, featuring Monex and the world-renowned commodities research firm, the CPM Group, led by Jeffrey M. Christian.
Hello, my name is Sean Brazney, Sales Director for Monex Deposit Company. I have the great joy of having Jeffrey Christian here with us today, managing partner and founder of CPM Group, one of the many analysts over there at CPM Group. Thank you for being with us today, Jeffrey.
It's always a pleasure to be with Monex.
We're kicking off a new year. We should have some new reports coming out here soon that we're going to have hopefully some great opportunities to talk about throughout the year. And it just leads me to want to lead into the year after listening to your video actually this morning. I got a chance to see your video on what smart investors need to know about silver. And great video, by the way, and supply, demand, and some of the factors around that. I'm hoping you can touch base a little bit on the details of some of that, since we're going to just kind of lead off with silver. But one point in that video that I want to just kind of bring up is you mentioned something in there that talks about back in 1997 when Berkshire bought a bunch of silver and down around $5 and sold out of it at $10, and incredible return on the investment during that time frame, regardless if the price kept going up. But there was an objective, and they had an objective in silver, and they exercised and performed with that objective, and of course did very, very well with that. And it leads me into these videos and reports that we do, and why we're providing this information for investors is so that they can gather the right intel, the right data, and come up with an objective, not just kind of throw darts, but to come up with an objective. And it's one of the things I love about being able to do this with you and share this information. But again, would love your take on silver again, based on some of the information that you had in that video.
Yeah, we're still, we have a positive view on both gold and silver, and we're seeing strong price increases in the first 3 weeks of this year. Part of that's seasonal. Part of it is investors trying to wrestle with where the markets and the economy are going to go. I think this is going to be a kind of I would say, a sloppy year. It's a year in transition economically and politically. And there's a lot of moving pieces that will be pushing precious metals lower and pulling them higher at the same time. So I think it's going to be an interesting year, volatile, not only in precious metals, but also in currencies and in stocks and bonds. So I think that you're seeing that. Another thing that you're seeing right now is a lot of investors looked at the performance of various assets last year. And silver from the start of 2022 to the end of 2022 was up about 3%. Gold was off about 0.1%, and on an annual average basis, they were both up. Gold was actually at a record annual average price last year. And then you look at stocks and bonds and real estate, and they were all off 11% or to 22%. So you've got a lot of mainstream investors, institutional investors as well as individual investors, who went away for the holidays, and they looked at their portfolios and they looked at what happened in 2022, and they said, gee, anybody who was in gold and silver, at least had a portion of their wealth in gold and silver, did better than those people who didn't. And precious metals did a very good job in diversifying portfolios and protecting people from adverse stock market, currency market, and bond market performance last year. And going forward, I think that you've got a lot of investors. You've got more investors in January 2023 who think that than you did in January 2022. And I think that's a very positive factor for gold and silver. And it probably means that maybe the prices don't run away initially. I think we'll see a strong first quarter. we'll see a more quiet second and third quarters. But I think in the long run, and I define the long run as the fourth quarter of 2023 going forward, I think that you're going to see gold and silver perform very well as portfolio diversifiers and also as sources for capital appreciation.
One area of the market I've been watching lately is the dollar. And the dollar, I'd like to say, has been doing an army crawl under the barbed wire. It just has not really peeked its head up for any long duration of time. It's trading at about 101 and change. I was really thinking we started to get a little bit oversold, around 103, and it just keeps pressing lower. And it's interesting to see gold that continues to levitate and make higher highs, in the face of that as well. But what do you think are some of the factors that are kind of keeping the dollar down where it is right now? And do you think it's primed for a little bit of a rally anytime soon?
Yeah, the dollar's at an interesting place. It on a trade-weighted basis and against various other currencies, individual currencies, the dollar's off about 9% from late October, early November peak. But it's still up, depending on how you measure it, 7 to 11% from where it was in the second half of 2021 and early 2022. So the dollar's shown more strength than all of the dollar doomsayers have said. And it was very strong up until the end of October, early November. And it's come off a little bit there, but it's still very strong. And our expectation is that that's what you're going to see for the dollar going forward. There are any number of people who have been forecasting the death of the dollar for 10, 20, 30 years, and it really hasn't happened. And it's probably not going to happen. And there's a variety of reasons, including the comparative strength of the United States economy compared to a lot of other parts of the world, as well as the comparative strength of the U.S. rule of law for capital formation and for economic growth. So I think that there are reasons to think that the dollar is going to stay relatively strong. But by the same token, you do see stronger economic activity in Europe and in Japan, which are the other major traded currencies where you see factored into the trade-weighted dollar. So, I'm not necessarily looking for another 20% appreciation in the dollar this year, but I'm definitely not looking for another 20% depreciation in the dollar. I think that if you said the dollar might move in a band of plus or minus 10% where it is today over the next 12 months, that's probably reasonable. Is that volatile? It's more volatile than it is at times, but it's not necessarily particularly volatile from a historical perspective.
I look forward to covering that a little bit more with you throughout the year. Late last year, I think it was that September to October time frame. I know gold found some pretty good lows on the charts. I know it found a low down around 1620. It's around 1930s or so, 1940 today. It's made about a $300 move to the upside. Silver trading down near the 17s, low 17s. It traded up as high as 2440s, which, by the way, in some of your reports late last year, you did think that silver would trade into the 2440s area. So, great call on that one again. Reminding our viewers that, CPM Group's been around for a while. It's got some of the greatest analysts out there. Jeffrey, you've been in the market for commodities research for 50 years. We'll provide this information for you. It makes sense to even go to cpmgroup.com, sign up for these videos, get this stuff in your hands. And also, of course, make sure you're calling Monex, talking to an account representative, and getting these free reports in your hands. And we're doing everything we can to get you the right data. We're looking forward to a fun new year with you all.
Well, thank you for having us, as always, and we look forward to doing more videos and more reports for Monex throughout the year, and for finding other ways to work with Monex.
Thank you for your time, Jeffrey.